Right. So today being the 8th of July, and we'll be looking at tracking today because someone had asked me. He said, "Hey, can you just cover the tracking part, which is client side, server side, and deduplication?" So I'll jump right into that now and share with you some tracking stuff that I've been working on with Reddit. And the point here being that whether using Facebook or GA or Reddit or whatever else, if they're providing you a client-side solution, so i.e. I need to go and add a pixel, so that would be in Reddit, would look something like his, like so, and you end up getting a pixel. Oops, wrong button. Setting my pixel up, go back, install on my website. There you go. Okay, so that pixel looks very much like you would get from Facebook, or for that matter, any other platform. So that's the client side. You copy paste, it fires on every page. And then comes the events, which is the bits you fire to show the different events. Like there's page view, there's view content, and the one that most people inside leads who go at it's a lead gens would be looking at lead. If you're doing pay-per-call marketing or something of that sort, then you may add a bit extra one, or perhaps you're doing e-commerce or something, then you'll go ahead and add that. Sometimes people use this one instead of this one, or they'll use this when they grab the name and email, and then they might use this for the phone number, and then they might use this as a server-side one when the client finally gets a sale or something, or if they have control over the sales teams. So you sort of, the important part here is to ensure that you've mapped it out, and the business or the organization is well aware about when are you firing when. All right, and that's it. There's nothing inherently fancy or unique about any one of these events. They're just standard events that a lot of the ad platforms provide. One of the advantages of the standard events is that sometimes you can do a little bit more extra stuff with it. Perhaps it'll allow you to track your conversion by that, so conversion per purchase, per lead event, or per sign up or whatever. Sometimes they allow you to make audiences with those things, while custom events, they won't let you do that, and things of that sort. So generally speaking, I am really ever a big fan of doing custom events, purely because if you make a mistake in your spelling, so say for example, if you were gonna create a custom event called sign up with a lowercase u, then you perhaps are going to start making a bit meal out of it. Next thing you know, you've scattered you've basically just made a big mess out of your own tracking, which is usually, I'm not a big fan of that version here. But having said that, if you've got a really complicated funnel and you want to use that, go ahead and use that. Just make sure there's downsides, and ensure that if you're using it for, say for example, to create audiences with these events, or perhaps you're looking to do any custom conversions type stuff in these events, or do analysis by these events, just ensure that they're all available in the same way that these ones are. That's not often the case, or there can be some variations, right? So just want to make it's more like a gotcha kind of a thing. Make sure you don't get yourself trapped by thinking, oh yeah, I've had someone tell me you can just do custom stuff, and therefore I'm going to go ahead and use that, and you kind of like bite you in the ass later because you can't use it for the intended purpose. So generally speaking, I tend to stick to the standard events, and that usually does the job, right? So this is the client side, the pixel, and then the events that you're going to fire at the different parts of the funnel. Now inside LeadsHook, if you are using that, we make it a little bit easier, where what we do is we allow you to, maybe I'll just pick up one that is, I may have used. Oops, I'm going to go to mine. Go ahead and pick that, right? So if I inside LeadsHook itself, while we haven't added Reddit to the list here, it'll look something like this. And then what I'll do is I'll go ahead and track that. So if I go view content, enter an event, what it's doing is firing the equivalent of that event, view content, as you can see there, on the Facebook side, right? So that's what we've done. We've actually effectively taken this, and we fire this with a whole lot of the parameters and stuff whenever you go ahead and select that option. That's on the Facebook side. Now we'll do something very similar in this Reddit example, where you are doing this, right? So that's the client side. A lot of people are familiar with it. Do go ahead and install it, and that's kind of like the minimum required. Next comes the server side stuff, where now you want to send information to back to Reddit or Facebook or Google or whoever it is. And once again, it's the same pattern. And when you're using server side, you will use something like this. I think I've got it. Yeah. So there's the gory document to explain all that stuff. Usually you make an API call that looks a little bit like this, and you pass a whole bunch of information back to Reddit. Example, something similar looks for Facebook, and every other platform that's offering this solution has something very similar. So what I'll do is I'm going to cross over into Insomnia now. Which is just a platform. Hopefully I can zoom in. Yep. All right. One more. Zoom in. Perfect. So there you go. There's my API call that I'm making to Reddit in this case. I have something similar for Snapchat, Outbrain, Taboola, TikTok, GA, Facebook, so on and so forth. Right. So they're all pretty much the same when you're firing the server side. They'll give you a URL to send a bunch of information to, and a payload of some sort, which is the fancy word for the kind of stuff that you want to send to them. Oftentimes, this looks really, really complicated. You can easily use ChatGPT these days, or the best case, usually what you do is it already provides you what you want to send to them. Like so, if I just expand all, and there it is. That's the sample one. You just go ahead and copy that and apply it and remove stuff rather than trying to build one of these up, because you want to use their structure. And that's the best way to do it. Right now, whenever you're doing server side, and I will move back to here. It gives you a whole bunch of information. I can pass the click ID, the event time, which is a date and time field, so on and so forth. That's the tracking type. So in this case, they're doing a purchase one. You'd be looking at view content or lead or sign up or whatever other option there is. And a whole bunch of data around it you're going to pass. So because this is a purchase one, they're passing in an item count. They're passing in, the dollar value was $1,000 USD. You can even pass the products that you are selling if you're an e-com store, for example, and so on and so forth. And then some details about the person, of who they are. So the user ID, the IP address, their external ID, which we recommend you use lead ID for this, or any other unique identifier. It could be invoice number or order number or whatever is e-commerce. They also require to pass, screen sizes if you want to, not required, and then some data processing requirements. And most of these have this these days. So how do you want to process this person? They're from California, so we can't use them unless they've given explicit permission, and so on and so forth. Right. So that is essentially the information you're sending back to them. And as you can see here, I've done a quick test, and it says, yeah, my conversion event was validated, but not processed. And the reason why it's not processed is because I actually told them that test mode is true, right? And so it gives you this, so you don't end up, over sending leads and messing up your lead count. A lot of the platforms, Facebook has something very similar, where they have a test mode variable, and you can say true or false. I normally leave it in there. If you remove it, then obviously it'll be true. Sorry, it'll be false if you remove it. I normally am a sucker for completeness, so I'll actually leave it in there, and I'll actually enter true or false. That way, I'm explicitly sending information, and it's for my own sanity. Like, oh man, did I mess up that one? Did I put true instead of false, or false instead of true? So you might as well leave it in there, so you have 100% clarity. Plus, it also makes it very clear for somebody else that's on your team that perhaps would want to look at this, and they may join. They may be coming in, a couple of weeks or months after you've done this. You can't remember what the hell you did. So having this sort of completeness sitting inside your either documentation or whatever you've used to do the server side stuff it makes it easy for them to follow on from what you've done. Now inside Leads, this is pretty simple. So I'll just share with you what you would do, and then move into the complexity of one of the headaches that we do remove when you are using Leads, which is you just use. I'll discard this. You'll just use the webhook node right here. So that's the URL right there. So what I will do is, when I'm finally done my testing here and I'm happy with what this is, I'm going to grab that, basically copy, and go ahead and put that right here. And then my payload, which is going to be JSON. So it's going to be down here. I will remove this, come here and just grab that like so, copy. Oops. It would help if I didn't do that. Okay, great. All right, I just, that's okay. So I'll do it with this one here. Go ahead and copy that, and go ahead and paste it inside the webhook node, which is right here, like so. That's it. And then you go and replace these with the various custom fields that adds this value in. Tracking tab in our case, we'll put lead, and so on and so forth, right? So that's the client side, that's the server side done. We did the client side earlier. So the client side here, so we'll be passing, let's say, for example, if you do want to pass the lead event, we'll go ahead and pass the lead event like so. And then similarly, on the server side, we'll go ahead and pass this as a lead event. And now you're getting client and server being sent. The problem is, you've introduced the big problem here, is the problem of double counting, right? So I'm sending a lead event from the client. It says, yep, I've got one lead. I send one from the server. It says, you got two leads. But guess what? There's still one lead because we're sending two the same lead event two ways. So we want to let Reddit, in this case, Facebook is something very similar, let them know that this is the same lead and I don't want you to double count. So how do you do that? Well, the way you do that is with deduplication. I'm going to scroll down here, and conversion ID, which is this parameter here, and you'll see it here, conversion ID, right to that right there. That conversion ID is the deduplication parameter. In this case, Reddit has made it quite simple. All they want to look for is conversion ID. As long as they see the conversion ID on the server side, which we already have here, means that the events that you send from the client, so in this case, lead event, I'm going to send an extra parameter here saying conversion ID. So that way my lead goes from the client side with the conversion ID, and then I'm going to send the same thing from the server with that one conversion ID. And that is going to deduplicate at Reddit. So Reddit's like, great, I've received two conversions here, but I'm only going to count them as one. And the benefit of this is that should your client fail for whatever reason, say, for example, someone's blocking the browser or something went wrong on the client side, server side will send all the information anyway, and that sort of takes care of that. So even if you miss something, and this is how a lot of the LeadZook users who've got client server and deduplication set up usually get a 10 out of 10 in their match rates on inside Facebook, is because they're sending in all this extra information. So Facebook, in this case, is allowed to match everybody. In our case, we'll make sure that we send all this information across. So therefore, we also enjoy a very high match rate in Reddit or Facebook or TikTok or whatever platform you're using. They're all pretty much the same, making sure that every parameter that they are requesting you send to them, even where you say it's not required, do try and send those that as much as you can. Now, obviously, if I'm going to be doing a lead event and I don't have email, then obviously I can't send it. But as long as you have that information, you do want to send that across into Reddit or Facebook or whoever it is, right? And that essentially is what the client side and the server side and the deduplication come together and works. Now, thankfully, or in this example, because I use Reddit for this one because I wanted to move away from and not get people stuck on Facebook, how somehow, it's just Facebook, just show that it really is the same concept no matter what platform you look at. There's a way to send information from the browser, there's some way of information sending it from the server, and there's some way to make sure that if you are going to send it from both sides, that you do offer them some way to go, yep, hey, listen, I'm sending it to you twice, make sure you don't double count. And so in the case of Reddit, we have conversion ID right here. Now, Facebook's a little bit different. Facebook's weird, or they just made life complicated. They do duplication. I've got a whole section written down here, and I will just walk through that. So you can see here, there you go. There's the test code inside Facebook. You can add that in to view it inside Facebook. That's to indicate it's testing. Where is deduplication? I've got a whole section right here. Okay, deduplication setup right there. Now, Facebook recommends that you send event name and event ID. In the case of Reddit, we looked at conversion ID. Facebook wants you to send in two things, but they also share a method too, where they say send the event name and event ID, which is the same as the method one, but also send them FBP pixel and an external ID as well. Right, so in that case, it could be lead ID, could be the order number, could be whatever, something unique about the particular person. And that's how it goes. So you've got the event ID coming from the client side, you've got that event ID going from the server side, and that's how the deduplication happens. So Facebook's looking to match those two off. Now, oftentimes, despite you doing that, it'll deduplicate the event, but it still can't match. In order to get the match rates, the real magic for match rates is actually from this section right here. I'll see if I can pull this up here. is actually this section here, that bit right there, which is going to be the IP address, the user agent, and the external ID and the email and so on and so forth. This is what increases the match rates. Now, inside Facebook, I had someone who reached out to me and said, I can't get my match rates to work and I can't get my deduplication to work. And when I looked at the setup, this is as per Facebook's documents. You got to send all of the, they were sending all of this and it still would not deduplicate. And I've never done a test where I have not sent this information across. So I'll quickly show you this extra bit right here. This is email. So EM is email, PH is phone, first name, last name, date of birth, gender, city, state, zip, country, and external ID. This, in all of my testing, I've always sent this. And so when they showed me the problem, I was like, everything looks okay. I can see you're not sending this, but as per Facebook's documents, you don't need to send this. This is just like a nice to have. It's the optional section. Similarly to this one here, all these other variables that you can see here, these are optional. You don't have to send them if you don't want to. And so the problem is that while the documents state that they're optional, they're actually not optional for deduplication to work at scale. So if you want to get a 10 out of 10 in deduplication and your match rates, you got to send all this information across as well. And if you do that, match rates just go to 10 out of 10 pretty much straight away. So this is an undocumented feature of Facebook, and you'll only and so from that point onwards, essentially, whenever I set up any server-side solution, I just send them the whole damn thing. I throw the throw the kitchen sink at them, and that is probably the only since they've said, hey, send it, just send it. It's just another custom field or parameter. Now, a lot of this information, you might say like, oh my God, what is all this crap? They're just custom fields. That's all they are, right? So in the case of IP address, we already have this inside LeadSook. So I'm just gonna, I'm gonna go and just hopefully it doesn't. Yep, there you go. That'll do. I'm gonna come here into custom fields, and a lot of these fields are already available to you. So if you go to tracking, firstly, let's go to geo, right? And if I go to geo, we already give you, for example, the zip. We give you. So let's say if you're not asking for zip in your DT somewhere, then go ahead and use that field as your zip for your Facebook. So I would add the field geo_zip for where it says zip. Similarly, you've got country. We've got country, city right here. We've got region. I believe there's a region here, which is the state or the province. And it's there you go, region name or region code right there. Right. So you can actually, if you're looking for some device information to send to them, which I think the other one had a device thing. We've got user agent. There you go. That's the user agent right there. So this is what you would take this custom field like so. So let's go into this one here and show you what that looks like. So in our case, we're looking at user agent right there. So instead of that, we'll be doing this. Come here, and I'm going to go user agent right there. So I'm going to click that. Go ahead and click that. I'll do something very similar for the IP address. So I'm going to go IP. And there you go. There's the IP address. I'll use one of the geo fields. IP address. It's somewhere here. Maybe I'll just use this one for the example here. So you go ahead and you replace that. That's it. And so what LeadSook does automatically, it just replaces all the value. Obviously, in your case, email, we'll add in email. So I'm going to go ahead and just search that. I will share something about email that is a little bit unique. Now, that's just sending an email. Now, a lot of these APIs that you have to send, they say, Anna, you're going to send it to us hashed. If that's the case, you grab this field filter and you'll look at the hashing algorithm. So there you go. That's the one that usually they ask for. So I'm going to go copy that, close. Go ahead and enter that. So what that does, that converts email to SHA 256. So no coding, scripting required, nothing fancy. Just go ahead and put that in. Now, sometimes they'll also say, hey, I want you to send it to us in a lowercase. So because they want everything in lowercase, like Facebook requires all this information to be in lowercase. So that's a colon, copy that. Go ahead in here. Oops, cancel here first and come here. And I'm going to go ahead and put that like so. And there you go. So, oops, gotta remove that. Right. So what that does, that takes email, which is sitting right here. It makes it all lowercase and then applies SHA 256. So that's it. That's using case filter as well as a hashing filter to get the thing into the right format and then sending it across. So in Facebook, you got to do this. I haven't read in detail whether Reddit requires you to do that or not, but lowercase seems to be the typical industry standard, and it won't hurt to send it in lowercase. So that's it. That's done. You've done your hashing part. Obviously, phone numbers require a certain format as well, and so on and so forth. So you can go ahead and use the phone number one. So the phone one, we've got it this way. So let's say, for example, if they require you to have no brackets and no spaces, no hyphens, we add in basically that. So you take your field name right there, and then whatever that flat line, the vertical line is called, no brackets, no spaces, no hyphens, and that'll convert it to this number here. So that number, it converts to this if you apply these filters. So you just got to look at what filters the document tells you to use. You go ahead and apply the filters, and you've added the data in the required structure, and that's it, done. So no extra scripting, no extra any fancy coding, all that sort of stuff. Straight out of the box, this just works. And that's how you end up setting up the client side, the server side. Make sure you're sending all the information that they're requiring to you, to them, including the deduplication. So making sure you send that whatever those requirements are. In the case of Facebook, we saw that they require you to send in the 4 different variables, which was I believe it was from memory. It was FBP, it was event ID, it was event name, I think, and whatever the other one was. Oops, let's just scroll to the top here. So event name, event ID, FBP pixel, and external ID, done. Right, and that's how you would end up doing it. So that's like client server and deduplication, hopefully explained in simple enough way to make it at least conceptually understand. This is how you set it up.
Yeah, very clear, Nick. What's the purpose of going to matched? Is that just like a cross check? I mean, if user ID can introduce errors, does the whole process of not using matched and a whole lot more data also carry risk?
So if you go to 10 out of 10 match rate, what that does, what Facebook is telling you is that of the 50 leads you've sent me, I can only match a very small number of them against my platform. So I don't really understand who your conversions are actually. Even though, so numerically, I'm showing it to you in the ads platform that so many conversions happen. So let's say 10 conversions happen, but my match rate is, let's say, 50%. But so what Facebook is telling you is that, hey, listen, I can only find 50% of those people on my platform, which is a little bit weird since everybody starts from Facebook platform anyway. So the fact that Facebook can't find those people on Facebook means that it's the lowest hanging fruit actually. If you don't have a 10 out of 10, then so which means that its ability to target the ads is dramatically affected if it's only got 50% of the sample that it can work with. And if you go 10 out of 10, then what it's saying is that, listen, you've sent me 10 conversions. I found all 10 people on my platform. Therefore, I know exactly who your target market is or who your real customer is based on the data you're sending me. So actually, just to answer that's a very good question. In fact, by fixing match rates, and this is anecdotal because I don't know, tell you the truth, you'd be hard pressed to find people that are doing this. Off the top of my head, I know about 3 or 4 people inside Leadshook that do client side, server side, and deduplication. Despite me creating this article, I don't know, you'll probably see it's probably like 2020 or some stupidly old article. Yeah, 2021. See, okay, this thing's been around. I mean, I've been banging on about it since the start of Leadshook, which is what 2018, 19 or whatever it was. Despite all this and sharing so much information in the Facebook group and these calls, the actual usage or penetration of this in terms of actual usage is still minuscule. And that's inside people inside Leadshook who are actually even aware that you should actually do this. Out in the wild, which is on many other Facebook groups and in many other markets that are out there, the people can barely get their client side conversion set up properly. So, but as soon as you do this, so the 3 or 4 guys that have done this, they've reported to me that they got literally like a 20 to 30% bump or a reduction in their cost per acquisition because Facebook's ability to find your target customer improves so much. Once again, I got a sample size of like a handful of people to work with here, so it's probably, there's a lot of, so don't take that as too valid a number. But even if you get 10%, 10% better than 0%, and if you get 30, you know what? That's just the ice cream and the cream and the cherry on top. So there's literally no downside. And the thing is that it's a one-time setup. Once you've set it up, normally, typically, so the people inside Leads Hook, what they do is they just save this as a template. So let's say a Reddit template, they have a Facebook template, they have a whatever, and they're basically just wrapping over and over again. So when you save it as a template, the node shows up here, and I'm just gonna drag and drop. It'll be down here. It'll be like one of these ones. There you go. It'll be like a drag and drop, my Reddit one or my Facebook one or the whatever. And that's it, it's done. So it's really, yes, perhaps the first time you're doing it, looks a little bit codey and stuff. But as I explained here, really, it's a crime not to do it, actually. Because like, or as I've got a good friend of mine called Cody Butler, he says, do you have an allergy to money? And it's probably a good metaphor to use here is, do you have an allergy to money? That's the only reason why you wouldn't do it.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so anyway, that's sort of like today's whole presentation on this. Someone had reached out to me on Facebook saying, hey, can you explain this a little bit better? Because I'm having a hard time explaining it to my team. So I said, yeah, fine, I'll go through the theory of it. And I've been working on the Reddit one, so I'll release some videos on it very shortly. And so that's the reason why I thought, you know what, that's a great segue, because I was quite curious to learn what Reddit uses for deduplication, and they actually have a specific parameter called conversion ID, which is a little bit different to how Facebook does. So as you can see here, there's the painful part of all of this is that it's not standardized. So it's not like if I just use the Facebook solution, I can replicate. While the overall strategy is the same, how you do duplicate and what information to send where and what does the structure of the data look like, they all differ from every ad platform. So that's the downside. But conceptually, it's the same thing once you've done one. So I often get people to say, you know what, Facebook's the hardest one because of how messy it is. But if you get the Facebook one, everything else really is a much simpler version of that. In fact, even GA is quite simple, actually. The deduplication, is much simpler, unlike Facebook that requires you to send 4 different parameters. I'd be like, I thought, the Facebook click ID would be sufficient to know what bloody conversion this is because it comes from Facebook. I send it back to Facebook. It's like, yeah, I know this click ID. It's, John Smith. Great, matched. No, but they require you to send the pixel and the event ID and all kinds of other stuff. I don't kind of understand why. But anyway, that's the way their platform works. And so we got to abide by the rules. And that's, yeah. So anyway, hope that kind of gave a good explanation as to how the whole thing works. All right, at this stage, I normally say if there's no more questions about this, let's open it up to something else. If there's another funnel you want me to review or ads to look at or anything of that sort, feel free to share that.
Yeah, I've not come with anything, unfortunately, Nick.
Okay, no, that's okay.
For sure, but no, it's always insightful. I've still got a couple of weeks to catch up on that I've missed recently, but yeah, still getting excited by this stuff. It's incredible.
Totally understandable. But honestly, this and I made this point a few times. Even the tracking SOS course that I did, I kind of like try to sell it as hard as I can on that one. The idea that almost, and when you start a campaign, you've got no idea if it's going to work or not, right? I mean, if someone tells you, yeah, I think I'm going to hit out of the park, they're either uncovered the magic pill to make campaigns work, or they're just kind of like lying to us. Like the truth is, no matter how well the campaign is constructed, it's only when you start running is when you realize, oh, you know what, I can tweak this, tweak that, change this, change that, or this is where my conversions are dropping, and so on and so forth. And there's a lot of that when you finally scale. But tracking is the one thing you can get 100% right without spending a single dollar, because a lot of these platforms allow you to test now. So, for example, the Reddit one, I was looking at it earlier today. You got the diagnostic section right here. You got the conversion AI setup right here. You got event testing right here. So you can really run through a lot of these things. Facebook has something very similar. So does Google, so on and so forth. And so they all allow you to, to do test well and to see your events coming through, your leads coming through, and so on and so forth. And that way you'll be able to really know with 100% certainty that at least your tracking works. Because the point is that usually sometimes I get told like, I'll fix this when I go live. But I'm like, you do realize this is a data point that they use to identify where to run the ad. So if you're going to wait later, then you effectively have got a suboptimal campaign, which means you're willing to spend, I don't know, maybe 30% more, 50% more, who knows, maybe 200% more to get the same out of the platform. And normally what happens is before you get to this stage, you've killed the campaign off. And I said, I can't even imagine the number of campaigns that have been killed because tracking was sloppy. As a result, you didn't help Facebook and TikTok and whoever else, whatever platform you're using, you didn't help them find your target customer. I mean, that has to be in the billions of dollars, if not tens of billions, of the number of campaigns that are not where the tracking is not set up properly. Therefore, the quality of data is not going back to the ad platform. Therefore, they're not able to find the match that you need to supply them. And therefore, because of the suboptimal match rate, they're not able to optimize the campaign as fast as they could have otherwise could have.
Yeah, it makes no sense, right? It's like
Yeah,
government.
exactly. It's the freest money that you're ever going to get out of any of these ad platforms. Is just give me the or just give me the data I'm looking for, so I can send you the damn customers you're looking for. That's it. That's all they're saying, right? Without actually saying that in those specific words, but that is effectively what we're looking at here. So if you don't have your tracking set up, then what the hell are you doing? Like you know what? Pack up shop and go, because you want to spend 4 times as much to get the same outcome. Like it doesn't make any sense. It's just wasting money. Actually, it really is. It's wasting money. But amazingly, if you tell someone that, it's $1,000 to fix all your tracking, there'll be no takers. But if I tell you, hey, listen, I'm going to give you this prompt that's going to give you 25,000 ads, you'll sell those like hotcakes. Or some new trick that I'm going to, that you're going to supply. And yeah, and it's so everyone's running around, with the new tool or the buzzword. And it's just like, just get back to basics, man. Just give them the damn information they're looking for. They'll make your life easy. Now, that's not to say that you should not be running new ads, all this sort of stuff. But imagine if you're already sending all the information to them, and then now you're optimizing, right? All of a sudden, your optimization efforts are also going to get a much faster and higher ROI quicker because of the quality of information that's being sent to the platform.
I looked very briefly. I hope it's okay. This is recorded, and obviously I'll keep the details live. I looked very briefly at John McCarthy's stuff, and initially it was just a quick scan through. I was like, wow, it doesn't seem to be terribly flashy and necessarily on point here. And then I looked again, and it's so obvious what he's doing is this foundational stuff, right?
Yeah.
And obviously he's in a position where he can just choose to do that stuff, and it just makes total sense. But really interesting site.
Yeah. Actually, he before he sold his business, he reached out because obviously it's part of the due diligence process. He wanted to make sure everything was in order, all that sort of stuff. So we had a quick chat about it. And I told him, I said, why don't you fix up your tracking finally? So he said, oh, maybe I should. And he did. And he goes, oh, F Nick, man, my leads costs have gone down. I said, oh, why? I said, I've only been telling you since 2016. So in a quite an ironic sense here, or the funny part of the story is that he actually did fix it just before he sold it.
Yeah.
And I said, and I said to him, I said, okay, so if you're telling me you're getting 30% more, all right, well, let's just adjust your bid by that much, and then the multiple. I said, how much are you throwing away? He goes, listen, let's not go there. So it actually, tracking has an impact on the valuation of the business. That's the moral of the story there.
I mean, this is interesting to me on due diligence and acquisitions, Nick. Would you expect this to be covered in a section on the IM about, technical, or how would you expect to see this in an IM?
Well, I would, in the sense that I would say to them, hey, I'm just going to have my web person have a look at it. I would not necessarily allude to the potential seller that this is something I'm going to be looking at.
And it's
But I
missing,
want
yeah.
it, but I want it for my, yeah, because now what I'm going to do is there's no point telling them about they're selling it. That's fine. They don't know about it. That's okay, irrelevant. What you want to do is say, well, listen, hey, oh wow, they haven't done this bits here. So if we do it, we're going to get let's say, conservative. Let's say we get a 20% bump straight away on the match rates and therefore acquisition costs. All of a sudden, the EBITDA numbers that you are playing with need to be adjusted. And so your acquisition cost in real terms has just gone down. The multiple you're paying has just gone down. And so absolutely, that should be part of any due diligence process when doing the acquisition. And then that's yours to keep because you're smart enough to realize this should be done. If someone is not doing it, great. You know what? You're effectively getting an asset that is not fully realized.
And a bit of an ignorant question, but is it possible to do any projections on that bump, whether it's 5, 10, 15, 20, 30?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So like I said, of the handful of people I work with, they normally report anywhere from a 20 to 30% bump. If you really want to be conservative, you can say, listen, what will take 10 to 15, and that's going to be good enough. And that's it. Now, if no tracking set up, then that's an interesting one. That's almost like a 50% bump, actually, in most
Is there any
cases.
way to be accurate with that number?
No, there's not. There's not. Unfortunately, well, let's put it this way. I've seen 20 to 30 in the handful of cases. I don't know enough about it. There was a study that Facebook did, and I believe this is from memory. I believe they said it's a 30% bump when you do client side and server side in terms of
So it's a
the
generalized across the board.
correct. Yeah. So yeah, but that's yours to keep. The day you acquire, that's the first thing you go change.
Yeah.
You tell the web person to go, right, let's go. Client side, server side, you do. First thing to change. And as soon as you change that, immediately within 3 to 4
Better,
days.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. In 3 to 4 days, you'll end up you'll see the benefits of what they are. I've never had anyone report to me there's a downside to this. So there's worst case, nothing happens. Best case, you get a bump. And I don't know anyone who hasn't got a bump. So I would assume that it works generally across the board. Google has reported something very similar. I looked at a study on that a couple of months ago. Facebook's got something very similar. And I suppose the reason why they're giving you these tools is because it makes their life easy as well, where they're allowing you to close the loop from the ad back to sort of who's buying.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. Cool. Now it's been so yeah, it's
Cool.
I'm still in a little bit of I'm not really sure how to address the problem anymore. We made it easier and easier and easier to do it. I just wish more people did it, because the consequence of that is that there's a lot of people who are shutting down campaigns that they probably could run for longer. There's a lot of campaigns that are probably being shut down early that could have had a few more weeks or months on it. And there's a lot of campaigns that could have probably survived that were killed off because they didn't have this set up. So it's the unseen here that is quite costly, and then or the type 2 error here, which is difficult to work out. But let's say we're on conservative, we'd say 20-30%. I mean that's in most businesses, that's margin. So yeah, really. So you've gone from I don't make any money to holy crap, I'm making 20-30%, which means you've got a campaign that survives, or at least allows you to scale to some extent.
Yeah, and who knows what iterations might come off.
Exactly. Like we just don't know what the downstream would have been based on this one thing if it was addressed. So what I've seen is instead of fixing all this stuff, they'll want to run new ads, they'll build new funnels. So I'll cover this next week, but I'll share a brief about it today. I recently ran into a funnel where it's got about 30-40 nodes now, and it's like, and they're trying to weed everybody out. And I said, why is your funnel so intent on removing people? Instead of our clients keep reporting to us the leads are crap. And what it was essentially was, someone say, oh, the income is not the right number. So they put an income question in and said, oh, you know what? The credit rating is not the right one. So, oh, let's put the credit rating question in. Oh, they're not, the employment status is not right. So they put the employment question in. And what they kept doing is they kept adding more and more questions to weed people out, never really questioning, is my ad really about the right person who should be seeing my funnel anyway? And so what happened was they never questioned that I'm targeting the wrong group here. Well, it's not quite tracking related. And so what I and so how if so what I suggested to them, I don't know if they did it or not, was change the variety of languaging you're using in your ads to see if you can get other pockets of people coming through, and fix your tracking. And anyway, so I hope they do both. But the point is that oftentimes when you're out of bullets, you solve the problem with a different hammer or the wrong hammer. And to me, it's like, let's just go fix the tracking first. And that's no here or there. It's just done. Therefore, the quality of data going back to Facebook is much higher, and therefore they'll be able to find you a better audience. Great. Now let's go and look at the other things that we can fix. And there's literally been only one or two people or funnel reviews that I've done where I've looked at it and said, yeah, no, tracking's all right. There's nothing more we can do here. And I've done, well over a couple of thousand reviews now. So it's a Achilles heel in pretty much every funnel that there is, and one that is easily solvable without necessarily being a rocket scientist or coming up with some new fancy idea about what your funnel is going to look like, and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's the reason for it. Get that out of the way, and then now let's go fix the big stuff. So in the acquisition question, absolutely. In fact, that might be one of the things to look for. Look for businesses that don't have the tracking set up properly, because that's immediate capture of value. In fact, the day you fix it up, you will see benefits within 3 days.
This is the thing that I was trying to ascertain from all of the time we spoke together and everything that you've talked about. What's the first thing that you would do where you would see a measurable impact, before you waste too much time and spend too much resource on seeing what levers aren't available,
Yeah. So tracking is the first one. And when you fix that, you fix the analytics side of things, because now you can get more visibility as to what's happening. And so now you can see where people are dropping off in your funnel. And so now it focuses your attention on that. So for example, a lot of times, I'll see a funnel, they're like, oh, I'm losing too many people on my email question or my phone number node or something of that sort. How do I address that? And what they'll normally try to do is somehow do something on that node itself. So I tell them, I said, no, that's one way to fix it. The other way to fix it is to change the conversation in the funnel, so that by the time they get to the phone field, they're like, I'd be an idiot to walk away at this stage now. I said, so change the positioning of the funnel, which is more of a psychological trick or change to the funnel, not necessarily something on the node per se. And and that's a far better, a much more elegant way of fixing the problem. And that would be the second thing to do. But now that the data is there, you have a better visibility as well. But if you also, I guess you could say the third or fourth benefit, if you do fix the tracking up, let's say if you're not getting a lot of leads at this stage, but you're getting some volume, and let's say you're running a very small campaign, you could effectively move the optimization of your funnel further up the funnel. So that does allow you to so let's say you've got a 10 node funnel, you got your name and email right at the bottom here. You could optimize for somewhere halfway up the top. So they've gone through or a third of the funnel, or 2/3 of the funnel, halfway through the funnel, and you could optimize there. And then once you get a few more leads coming through, then you move the optimization to the lead event, which is going to be at the bottom. So you can optimize your funnel for a view content event, and after you get a bit more traction, you can then move to the lead event. So that way, because oftentimes when you'll start in fairly expensive markets, like the big markets you're playing in, like debt, solar, and those sort of things, it's actually quite pricey. And so when you're still trying to mess around and see what else going on, you can end up consuming a lot of money on the top of the funnel, and so you're just not getting the volume at the bottom, and to get out of learning mode and all that sort of stuff. So you can really move that conversion event further up.
Yeah, I hadn't a very, very simple element, and like you say, hadn't thought about that. And I've experienced it now. Now I think about it, you know, you boom, you're all of a sudden you hit with an email, you have that intention there, so you drop it, you know, whereas if it hit me earlier on, maybe I'd have been a bit shyer.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. Any
Yeah.
other questions on any of this stuff
Oh,
before we?
cool. Thanks, Nick. Back to changing nappies.
All right, cool. Sniff before you change. That's a secret. All right. Enjoy, Jay.
See you
We'll
next
chat
week.
soon. See you
Take
next week.
care.